Alright, let's continue on with Guangdong. Where we left off, we're about to get our economic check for the year, and we'll easily pass it. We're going to also go to Manchuria and start with a parlay of the Manchurian hosts. The Empire of Manchuria is questionably our foremost rival in the co-prosperity sphere, competing with our products and our merchants for market share and influence with raw industrial might and slave labor. They look down at us, on us in every turn, the representatives of their emperor, thumbing their noses down at our chief executive. But we ought to pay a visit to the hosts of this conference, a show of Pan-Asian unity, no matter our mutual animosity. And who knows, maybe these arrogant Manchus will be just let something valuable slip. Okay, we'll see what we can do. I hope we can get some influence in that conference, as I've got quite the appetite for economic expansion after a first and very successful year in Guangdong. It was clear that the organizers had spared no expense, even if the marble was scuffed in places and electric lights faded compared to the neon of Koshu. The Manchurians knew how to make a strong first impression. They, not the regime in Nanjing, were the light and glory of China, for now and forever. Now let's go talk to the guests. Do they actually have a focus tree? I always forget. No, they do not. Now, Mr. Suzuki, how have you been enjoying the amenities of the Empire? There is no doubt you must be awed by the industrial prowess of the sphere's crown jewel. Suzuki does not reply. I've heard about the burgeoning success of Guangdong's electric industry. It might prove a problem for us later on, but for now, it is merely a trifle. Though we'll have to see, continued the minister. Suzuki was utterly baffled. Such an outlandishly impolite tone and choice of words. Problem? Trifle? Is that what he compares the state of Guangdong and its industry to? Suzuki leaves, but he is glad about one thing though. Guangdong, as far as he knows, was considered a threat to the Manchurians, and the mere mention of the electronics industry made Suzuki a lot more heartened with his nation. We will increase our research speed then. Good. Next up, the Japanese. I was trying to save the game so I can take a screenshot of this for my thumbnail, but I think I accidentally left it on Iron Man mod on because I did an achievement run in the previous videos. So I'm gonna have to exit the menu to make an actual proper screenshot, I think. Well, I've reloaded the game and I just realized I forgot to take the screenshot. Fuck it, I'll just do it right here. We'll do it live, god damn it. There we go, I did it. There's more important things than screenshots anyway. That is to play the video. I want to produce more. My GDP must grow. And I do still want to get rid of some corruption because it's still increasing quite a bit, it seems. Oh, no. I apologize for our tardiness, one of the men said. We had more important business to attend to. Suzuki begrudgingly nodded. That's kind of rude. The men seemed indifferent to his proposals, but the conversation proceeded along smoothly, and thus it would be greatly appreciated if extra investments into Guangdong were solicited. At this, the delegation began to shift, prompting one of the men in the group to speak. Chief Executive Suzuki, we would love to provide additional investments, but that must come some other time. We will attempt to provide what we can for now, but the current focus is upon Manchukuo. It's the reason why we're here, after all. I guess it could have gone worse, indeed. God damn it, I want to usurp them. Let's see, maybe the Chinese are more amenable. A monument of loyalty? I don't think that's what they mean, no? What makes Guangdong special? Why, the thing that makes it special is the fact that we are better than Manchukuo, goddammit. Just give me funding. Ooh, the opinion of the Chinese is not that great currently. Or their opinion of us, rather. Regardless, let's get rid of some corruption. 12%? It will also increase Chinese opinion, which we dearly need. And there we go, Chinese ambassador. Well, Song, it pleases me to see you. Just be informed that Guangdong is always welcome to investments for the benefit of all Asia. With that sentence, a feeling of unease emanated from Song, and he took a second before responding. Of course, of course. I'm sure we'll get to it at some point. After all, it is our duty to support our populace. Suzuki felt a hint of animosity from the reply. Did he mean our as in us, or as in them? A thinly veiled insult. Well, no one's really willing to believe that we have Chinese interests in mind currently. Now, what is Guangdong's place in the sphere? There we go. Recollecting how much he had anticipated the upcoming moment, the chief executive felt deep despair as he looked out to the audience. It was a presentation of such importance to the future of Guangdong, and yet no more than a handful of members from the Japanese delegations could be bothered to show their face. His notes, so painstakingly prepared a long time in advance, might as well have turned to dust then and there for all the good this presentation would do. In spite of this, Suzuki was bluntly determined to persist. At the very least, this empty crowd might yet be swayed. Or so he thought, until even his meager hope was dashed by the thunderous entrance of a runner bearing desperate news. A hushed, breathless message was delivered and silence filled the wall. What remained of the Japanese court soon filed out amidst mutterings. The crowd, now virtually emptied, descended into commotion over what had just taken place. As more and more left whatever interest they had retained for the future prospects of Guangdong died. We need to outpace the great empire of Manchuria economically and show Guangdong to the sphere and the world. We basically have rivaled them in EU4 terms. But do not worry, my dear friends, I'm catching up, alright? We're trying to pacify the Pearl River Delta. His proposed bill will be a useful tool in settling the unrest across the cities and will help draw support for dissenters among the populace. It had been a long journey from Xinjiang back home for Suzuki. The ache of failure he felt in his heart hurt almost as much as the weariness in his eyes. Not that either of these ailments mattered, for the issue of Guangdong still needed attending to. By the time that Suzuki returned to his work, monotony struck once again. In an attempt to perk up his system, he reached for a carton of cigarettes. However, he was disappointed. He must have torn through the lot during the trip. And so we just go back to business as usual. The black sheep of the alliance, I'm guessing. Well, maybe that's more the Yunnan province, more than anything. Let's deal with the language problem, right? We lose valuable time translating, confusing ourselves with cases, tenses, and characters, all costing us valuable time and resources. So is the police going to learn Chinese, or is the entire population just going to learn Japanese? Knowing the Japanese, they'll probably expect us all to learn Japanese instead. Ooh, not a day late and not a dollar short. As you can see, gentlemen, with productivity increasing and wages being kept static, Guangdong's gross domestic product has increased twofold since the fiscal year. We get more seats for Suzuki. And with 1963 dawning upon us, I expect Guangdong to remain a shining example of economic success in the Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere. For the next year, our shareholders are expecting growth of 9% or a GDP of 25.5 billion. Okay, we got our work cut out for us, that's for sure. And we start off the year by buying down the corruption. We'll keep investigating delegation counts to remember finances for extra anti-corruption movements. No, officer, I can't say I've seen anything worth reporting. Nor have I seen anyone here who matches your description. Will that be all? Lam nodded and moved off, taking careful note of the contemptuous glances being shot his way, both from the officers and the residents. They didn't have to like him, but they did have to learn Cantonese. Oh, this will increase corruption by 3%. Good thing I'm buying it down, again. Before we do anything, maybe let's meet with the Chinese representatives again, in hopes of fixing their opinion of us. And do the same with the Japanese, just in case. Their opinion is incredible right now, but I'd like it to be even better. The customs station, nearly unblemished concrete construction, unbowed by rain and time, stood in stark contrast to the aging frames of the rolling stock creaking precariously on half-rotting railroad ties. The border checkpoint between the Republic of China and the state of Guangdong was the most visible symbol of artificial divide in the Chinese mainland, an unnecessary addition to the nearly 3 decades old Koshu-Hankou Railway. Your turn, Shuang. No discrepancies in the passports and the other documents, said Shuang, wearing the uniform of a Guangdong police officer. If there were, we'd have pulled them off for questioning. Nobody looking or acting suspicious, nothing unusual, though given you call yourself Zhuyin instead of Chinese these days, I guess looks don't count for much. Whatever you say, Shuang rolled his eyes. All around Liu and Shuang, 2 shifts of station staff, customs agents and border police milled about, their differences apparent in only the 2 sets of uniforms they wore. If one closed their eyes, they could be forgiven for thinking there was no difference at all. 1 train, but 2 lines. We increase Chinese opinion, but we lose some approval from the Japanese. Yeah, because the increases over time anyway. Damn it. Not a great meeting with the Japanese, sadly. We'll pay. I don't want to have a double dip. That would be 6%, that'd be down one. Project Panopticon. It has been made clear to the administration that traditional methods of maintaining public order will not suffice in Guangdong. Too many slip under the radar and get away with all kinds of filthy acts and desperate crimes. The continuation of Japanese dominion over South China requires new thinking and new solutions. Our great inoculator is technology. An ear in every conversation, an eye in every room. With the use of technology, we can try to make our surveillance state as invisible as possible, removing the human element entirely. All it will cost is time and money. Okay. Oh no. A disaster of this caliber has never hit the young state of Guangdong before. The state of Guangdong evolves to the Yasuda crisis. What the hell's going on? Is it Minezaka? Yes. Between the bribes, the uncollateralized exposure, the fraud, Yasuda will sink under the weight of it all. And I don't think anyone in Tokyo is coming to our rescue. Oh no. Do we get anything for that? Oh, we get a new focus, but we still have to finish Project Panopticon, I think. I don't want to cancel it just yet. Sheesh. The max opinion of Japan is not great currently. The music stops. The unthinkable has occurred. Yasuda, one of the cornerstones of Japanese economy, has collapsed. And the sphere's economy has been plunged into utter chaos. And in Guangdong, Yasuda's position as one of the four company means that worse is surely in store. This can only end well. Either way, I think I'll start with looking through the rumored Yasuda connections, getting rid of some corruption, especially since it keeps goddamn rising. Let's start with reassuring the markets. The sooner we can get our GDP growth up, the better. Yeah, we all fell apart. Even Manchukuo. Regardless, let's deal with corruption first. Everything is selling. Oh no. Black Monday again. Demand answers from Tokyo. Surely they won't like it, but too bad. Yeah, our GDP growth is atrocious currently. 0.8? What do you mean you can't provide any details on the budget? You know damn well there's only one reason I'm calling. With all due respect, given current conditions and present confusion, all discussions about the budget are currently on hold. Please wait until the cabinet. The only thing the cabinet's discussing right now is who gets sent to Sugamo prison first. The Prime Minister and I agreed that budget support for Guangdong would be renewed. Is that still in the books? Chief Executive Suzuki, this is Director General Tanimura of Budget Bureau. I'm afraid we cannot commit to any new spending unless the cabinet directs us to. Fine. Will continuing spending be authorized? Japan has its commitments to the co-prosperity sphere. Surely measures are in place. I cannot commit anything, Chief Executive. Any further deals will follow from Tokyo. That will be all. Great. I think we're going to have to fix this all by ourselves. Then again, what else is new, right? In the meantime, deal with corruption. Between Yasuda's collapse and Suzuki's own largesse in trying to pass the labor standards ordinance, Suzuki knew full well that he shouldered a fair share of the blame for Guangdong's crisis. It was a question asked as Suzuki's mind ground to a halt, on asking why and refusing to accept the obvious conclusions. What comes next? How would Suzuki even begin to right the ship of fate before Guangdong's investors began to run for the hills, if they hadn't already done so? A fiscal cliff. Drastic measures will be required. The only thing that made a day of bad news tolerable was reading about the misfortunes of someone else. There had been no dignity in Ruan's fall from power, with his summary dismissal from office reflecting the depth of the crisis gripping Manchukuo, and the state had decided it was time for a firmer hand. The various factions surrounding the Manchurian throne, the imperial court, the Guangdong army, and the bureaucrats of the General State Affairs Bureau had elevated the technocrats in the Concordia Association to take Manchukuo forward. Suzuki doubted much would change, even if the Prime Minister was ambitious and capable, so too were the rest of the power brokers in Xinjiang, all pulling at the fraying seams of Manchukuo's economy under the tired gaze of an aging emperor, a relic of a bygone era. Suzuki didn't envy Gu. Life in Guangdong was simpler, without imperial regalia, ideological trappings, or court grandeur, even if the politics was no less cutthroat. Yeah, the Japanese love us currently. This will introduce Guangdong Financial Stabilization Ordinance to the Legislative Council. What do we go for? This is like Bernie Sanders. I am once again asking for your financial support. I love that meme. Such a great one. This is ridiculous, Ibuka said irritably. We're not done. Sit down. Enough, Ibuka exclaimed. All the time you yell at us from up high to do this, do that. Now you want us to do you a favor without even the courtesy to offer to make it up to us. We're in a crisis and you want to talk about courtesy. Do you think that you can survive alone? It's better than following you, Ibuka spat. I will be blunt, I do not trust you. If you want my help, give me something worth my time. The door slammed shut. Matsushita fixed his tie with a serene expression, his tone insincere. My board will need some time to study this. I apologize. But for something this important, I cannot give you an answer immediately. Suzuka turned to Morita, who shrugged. If Ibuka and Matsushita are opposed, and if Matsuzawa is indisposed, I don't think my opinion will change anything. It's just good business for them, I'm sure. And this will introduce the confidence motion in Chief Executive Suzuki. What now? What do the 4 companies want? They want your head, Executive Chief. What do you mean they? Emergency recall citing no confidence. Let's start with the Juyin and crack down on the press. Do not let the populace know how bad it is currently. And let's give our rebuttal with maybe some occasional lies of our own. This will also increase corruption, which we have been steadily trying to buy down, but it doesn't seem to be working that well. Just keeps going up and up and up. Oh, buy Chinese airtime again. Yeah. Sure, our money is atrocious currently. There's not enough room to pass this ordinance. Does it need to be passed? Either way, you know what? Suzuki will get the 3 seats in my favor. I don't think it really matters. I think it'll collapse anyway. Suzuki will be gone. He just doesn't want to accept it just yet. I kind of want to press these buttons again. Yeah, let me just press them. Ah, there we go. We will support Sony once more. Maybe I shouldn't have pressed that button, huh? Our initial product quality will be between 10 and 20, and interest between 17.5 and 27.5. Okay. Show all the options, please. We'll start off by paying off high-ranking contacts. And this one I will sell into the Japanese market, because we need money more than anything. Bootlicker. It wasn't just the brick hurtling past his head that gave Hayashi-kosen a virtual concussion. There were also roars and jeers that followed. Everything okay back here? Was all Lam could muster up. Who was he to reprimand a colleague and companion for sending his regards home anyway? The worst hasn't reached there yet, so thankfully they'll manage for another week or 2. I couldn't thank you enough for looking out for me. Another black spot on my legend and they'll haul my penniless bootlicking ass back to the countryside, and then Mappa, me, will all be done for. Good heavens, this just isn't gonna end, is it? So, what's the emergency? I called the others off. It just wasn't worth it, don't you think? And I feel something so wrong doing the right thing. This just isn't the right time for this product to come in. Increases our speed, increases Fujitsu product profitability. Good, I guess. Same for Matsushita. Oh, the other ones follow swiftly, I'm guessing. Oh, we can prioritize audio and video. I did not realize. I think I want to prioritize audio and video, right? Above anything else. And hide this again. Test the product, to start with. Adds 100% of Yasuda seats in support of the current ordinance. Look out the window, Suzuki. I've already lost everything. I know of your troubles. They must have made a severe dent upon your personal life. Look, I can't guarantee you much, but I can guarantee you this. Support me and I will sustain you with a satisfactory position once we weather the storm together. I'll see what I can do. We have most of the votes. Request backing, please. I needed more political backing. I need it for the products right now. We don't have that much time at the end of the day. Tell Morita he's getting his support as well. Good. We'll be massively in their debt, I'm guessing. Move factory workers towards the QA. They'll give me some quality. It's underperforming still. And the interest is low. Currently, we'll lose a seat. Wait, what? Matsuzawa poured himself another glass of imported sake and let it flow down his throat. He glanced towards the framed picture of his wife and children sitting upon his desk across the room. Overwhelmed with concern for their survival and well-being, they'd have to return to Japan. They no longer had a future here, though he doubted they'd fare better back on the home islands. The ticking of the clock on the way drew Matsuzawa's attention. It was getting late, yet he had no desire to sleep, having forced himself into sleeping on a makeshift bed in his office to process the fallout of the crisis. His contemplation was interrupted by a distinct ringing, a priority call. He reluctantly picked up the phone. What do you want from me? A favor. If you and your family don't want to remain under the shadows of the men in Tokyo for the rest of your lives, I suggest you listen. Matsuzawa sat silently, watching the silver rays of lunar light projected on a glimmer of hope for the citizens in Guangdong. Decreases Suzuki's legation seats by 22, so we lose all of our seats. Or actually, we're at -10, and everyone no longer supports the ordinance. Also, do loan some engineers from Japan. Click this one as well. Suppress negative press. That's going to bump us up a decent way. So in essence, no one except for Suzuki, well, no one except for ourselves support our continued reign. That came out of nowhere though. Suzuki was working late again. Even at this hour, he could still hear the distant noise in the street, still see the smoldering fires set by the riots and protests that have erupted in Koshu. He flashed himself a mirthless grin as he turned back to the reports lining his desk. News from the streets, none of it good. Suzuki thumbed through the papers. Complaints about insufficient resources, and analyses on escalating violence, and most worrying of all, a report from his police chief informing that Guangdong's security forces would soon be unable to keep pace with the mounting violence. His years as a chief executive and in the IJA made him no stranger to dealing with criminals. They had resources at their disposal. Both the native triads and the expanding Yakuza had means to shore up Guangdong's security. I think Guangdong would stand alone. I don't want to deal with the triads. And in 10 days, we will be voted out. Increase the level of corruption, everyone hates us. Great. Just lovely, isn't it? Yet another failure for the pile. Either way, let's test the product a little bit more. We're now to middling and average. Not bad. We're still at the point where Sony seats technically get decreased by like a fraction instead of 1. The final call. 12 votes. Suzuki's mind went blank. It's over. It's all over. He'd predicted Ibuka's cohorts spitting on him without hesitation. He'd expected Matsushita's fence-sitting, deserting him at the earliest opportunity. Hell, he'd even foreseen some of Morita's deputies ending up swayed to the outside. But nothing as absolutely egregious as this. Not a single one of Yasuda's men had voted for keeping Suzuki. No, it shouldn't have been like this. What was Matsuzawa thinking? What happened to his integrity, his willingness to work together, and his awareness that the two of them were in the same goddamn boat? Unless Matsuzawa had found a new patron, a new messiah to guide him through these turbulent times with brighter promises than anything Suzuki could ever offer. That would certainly explain why Suzuki had been cast aside, left to collect dust like some second-hand fucking chew toy. He was no longer needed. Alone, he drifted in darkness and degeneracy, backstabbed by the one person he had bothered to count on. Nothing personal. To avoid the fate that befell on Suzuki, future chief executives can use corruption under the 3 evils decision category doing ordinances to gather votes. They can also use corruption to buy up seats in desperate situation. And so, we fell. Everything will be alright, he said, forcing himself to smile, all without looking at his daughter's crestfallen face. Will it? We'll see. Either way, we will continue with our product, because that's probably one of the most important things currently. We need our money up. Increases our resource efficiency for the Hitachi profitability as well. And product interest for Sony. Ooh, yeah. Does this get passed on retroactively, though? Doesn't seem like it. Suzuki, lame duck chief executive. He gave himself a bitter smirk as he gazed through the office window one last time into the swirling mass of fluorescent lights littering the Koshu skyline. It had come to this. Suzuki Teichi, the man who failed Guangdong. Was this to be his legacy, his epitaph, even when none of the disasters befalling the jewel of southern China had been his direct doing? Was there nothing left from the bureaucrats' filthy clutches, nothing spared from damnation to the deepest corners of Inferno along with the demons of Yasuda? Suzuki listened in silence as an eerie feeling of serenity dawned upon him. He turned his head back to the now half-vacant chamber. In the dust-filled corner lay his trusty suitcase, a companion in his years in the army and the House of Peers, and now in his last days on his burning freighter. A friend he thought he'd never have to turn to again. And so, the captain abandoned the ship. You know, I would have missed that snake if it hadn't been for the mess of legislation he left behind. Urgent matters in Tokyo? You're one to talk. Any ideas on how to fix the riots in your sweatshops? Seems like our great visionary can't weasel himself out of this one, can he? Nothing will come out of this if all we do is bicker with each other. Neither of you want to buck up for once and take up the mantle, I assume, because we will have to nominate a caretaker to clean up Suzuki's hot mess, at least for the time being. Fret not, Mr. Matsuzawa. I assure you everything will be duly arranged. And who is our new commander? Matsuzawa Takui. So the Yasuda, for now, have taken over. But I'm guessing it's more like a puppet regime. We welcome our new chief executive, he who holds the poisoned chalice. The dismantlement of Yasuda's empire in Guangdong begins, and the surviving companies leer at its corpse. An unenviable position. We will give two of Yasuda's seats to Sony. Do we have to do both? Yeah, sadly we do. Our product quality is great, but the interest is average. I want to increase the interest maybe. Actually, we have no choice. So might as well increase it. This gives me 10 points. This gives me only 5 points. I can't really do that. 10% interest for only 15. I think I'd prefer to spend... no. I'll spend the Underworld influence instead. Test the product's integrity or... No, spend some of the Chinese approval instead. Guangdong is bleeding money. We need a plan. Our GDP malice from the national spirit of Yasuda crisis will recover by 0.5%. That's still not that great. Oh, the next chief executive. It was too close to tell who shall hold the position of chief executive. By the end of Matsuzawa's term, each respective company will receive the loyalty of Yasuda's legislative council members, proportional to how much of Yasuda's auctioned assets they hold. Let's get 10 more interest in our product, please. The critical path now. I think we will throw in with Morita. We are nothing without workers. And Morita will gain an edge to becoming the next chief executive. Pay off high-ranking contacts once again. You look well, executive chief. Thank you, Matsuzawa replied. The plan is critical for Guangdong, Morita asserted. Our success is fueled by its subcontractors and employees, none of which can survive. Stop, Matsuzawa held up his hand, bidding Morita to stop. I know what you wrote, but I'm not convinced. What do we gain by throwing the workers a bone? Isn't this just your sidekick Lee and his bleeding heart talking through you? Morita took a deep breath before replying. Endlessly squeezing the Chinese, who outnumbers us, just paints a bigger target on our backs. Suzuki's thought so too. Suzuki's profligacy also caused some of our issues, but his conclusions were correct. The status quo is unsustainable, Matsuzawa. To dismiss that because of Suzuki's other failings would be utterly short-sighted. It's time for something new. Oh, we will get a seat after this. We've done a good enough job. This will increase our profitability a little bit. I kind of do want that, but not just yet. Hanging by a thread, but still hanging on. Okay. We do have to keep the workers working. 7.5%, 5%. Not quite what I want just yet. 5% still. 10% is a bit better. Force police prototyping. Let's go for that. In 10 days we will have it, and I think I can push the launch for it by 10 days. Good. This will be it. We'll have even better profitability. 18.5%. We got high interest, great product quality. Putting pressure on our economy during a crisis can be damaging, but I do kind of want that. No one will go hungry. I'll do the other focus first. There we go. I think this is it, right? 78.75 of an average. Real GDP growth of 2%, GDP growth of 5%. Yeah, it's too late to test now or anything. This is it. Because we market towards Japan, we get an additional improvement effect on Japan's approval of almost 4%. The Chinese did not like us. We get 2 entire seats this time around. Okay, I think that was a good show. How many seats do we currently have? 20. Nothing to really write home about, but I'm still planning on increasing that further. Yes, he and the Zaibatsu hadn't met before. Now, with these men sitting before him, it all came flooding back. Neither Sumitomo nor Mitsui had bothered to show up, but Mitsubishi had sent some non-entity, and Toshiba had sent 2. An audience for this farce. Murta had to fight to keep his lips from curling. That bald man, the one with the ridiculous purple tie, Murta recognized him from long ago. One of Iboka's lackeys, maybe. Whoever he was currently flashing Murta a smile acidic enough to cut through steel girders. So good to see you again, Morita. How's President Lee? The other representative tried and failed to stifle their giggles. Morita ignored the bait. Once this meeting was over, the representatives would head back to their cars, and their chauffeurs would drive them out of the building's garage. As they turned the corner, they would spot a billboard advertising the TA 11:20. It had been just put up this morning. Dozens would join in over the coming weeks in major metropolitan areas. Nice. Looks like we get the last laugh. I do think no one shall go hungry. I want to go with that. An entire horde of no-gooders threatening to get their paws on the goddamn government itself. And what did you and your buddies do? Swinging around your batons and handcuffs and doing fuck all. And here we expected our esteemed ideal officer, Hayashi Kosen, to perform his sacred fucking duty, for heaven's sake. My apologies, Sergeant, but the orders called explicitly for restraint. Lam, honorable officer that he was, gave his perfunctory reply without so much as a twitch on his face. Orders, orders. First the pay cuts, now this. All those 90-plus men had been Chinese, his own kin, and it was the cruel reality, not wanton malice, that had forced them to the cordons. What could he have possibly brought himself to do? What bullshit, don't tell me you bought into Matsuzawa's Good Samaritan nonsense too. No, enough. I don't want any more excuses, any more unwarranted leniency thrown to these savages. I catch you half-assing your job again, Hayashi, and you'll have earned yourself a demotion. The sergeant shot Lam one more ugly look before snapping away. Once a mutt, always a mutt, he grumbled, not even trying to lower his voice. Lam, respectful officer that he was, stood yet perfectly still, posture remaining at a perfect 90-degree angle and gaze fixated on the sergeant's back as he plodded away until the very instant the man stepped into the sunlight and went well out of earshot. Immediately, the expletives hissed through his teeth. Fuck your mother, same as it ever was. Let's meet some Japanese representatives and maybe Chinese ones as well. See if they're willing to throw us a bone. Or the whole carcass, maybe. Damn it, Morita's plan has failed. 6% of assets to be auctioned has been designated to both Matsushita and Fuji. Damn it. Increase China's opinion. Sure. Increase Japanese approval as well. Request some backing from both of them. And then hopefully we can crack down on underworld corruption. It's only 4.5. That's not that much. After the Yasuda crisis shook the entire sphere, we can now look forward to new foreign markets to sell our products to. Nice. Abroad even. This is a valuable clue about Song Jiguang's character. We may be able to find more. My apologies, Chief Executive. I have an outing with friends in the Chinese district. Old friends of mine. I suppose I'm excited to see them. I would hate to be working in my free time. What do you mean? Song turned back to face him. Every time I see you in the papers, it's you meeting school children or shaking hands with factory workers or speaking to nurses, always in the Chinese district, always for work. No, not always. I may be a diplomat, but I grew up here. It's a professional and personal duty to see how my hometown is doing. Don't worry, I'll be sure to let you know of any complaints I hear. Good day to you, Chief Executive. Okay, so he has a soft spot for the Chinese populace. Jeez, okay. Limiting collateral damage or auction off Yasuda's assets. Yeah, let's start with that maybe. Let's click both of these buttons. Their approval will come up again at some point anyway. Do we appeal for more workers? What does that give us again? Our GDP growth. Okay, that could be nice. We still have a lot of catching up to do. Oh yeah, a lot of catching up to do. Advancements in data storage technology. Increases our political power game. Ooh. Let's take an inventory first. Let's get a little bit more GDP growth rate. To lie about Yasuda's true value from the mouth of Guangdong's chief executive would be an insult on top of inner injury. No exception. Yeah, let's do no more nor less. Because Sony also wants to buy as much as possible. No need to charge them extra, right? Going once, going twice, and the price will be set. Wait, Adolf Hitler just died? Oh yeah, it's only 1936. I've been playing this campaign for slightly more than 3 hours now. I mean, this is the second video, so it makes sense, I guess. But goddamn, there is a lot to do, huh? Nobody said the auction would be fair after all. Let's play favorites. I think I might as well crack down on petty corruption then, I guess. Civil war in Germany, that's not my problem whatsoever. We got way bigger fish to fry. His freedom is his own, and he's free to tilt the scales. I wonder who he's gonna prefer to sell to, huh? Sony sees the big picture, and it's time to redo as well. And Morita Akio gains an edge in becoming the next chief executive of Guangdong. That's exactly what I want. God, I hate our corruption levels. I need to lower this somehow. Going twice. We have made the necessary phone calls. Good. Uh-oh. Does that mean Long Yun's gonna happen soon? Going twice and sold. Yasuda is no more, or will be no more rather, in just a couple of days. What's it look like these days? 21 seats? Is it only 21? Ah, there we go. Sony has won the auction. They shall receive 9% of the share. That's it? Oh, can we maybe try and steal away some of the Matsushita and Fujitsu assets as well? Either way, let's strike at the underworld as well. Request some help. Hundreds, maybe more, of destitute Japanese wash up on our shore. Their misery only threatens to compound on our own. I don't know which way I want to go for. I kind of want to keep them, the Japanese that drift in here, but I don't want to displace the Cantonese Japanese. So I might just cast them adrift and buy some Chinese airtime as well. It'll improve my next product. Oh yeah, there we go. It seems our GDP growth is back to somewhat decent levels. Manchuria, on the other hand, barely scraping by. I think I will cast them adrift. Although, saying that, no, let's keep them. Let's keep them. The Japanese have been good to us, GDP-wise. I'd like to keep their approval around. Might be the good move, might be the bad move, I don't know. Suppose we'll see. Invest in focused research. And sadly, we will have to displace some of the Cantonese Japanese. I'm sorry, Mrs. Yasukawa. The courts have ceased the insurance payout. You would need to present yourself in Tokyo to contest it. I see. Thank you very much. If only she had pushed harder to find a job. If only she had noticed her father's vacant, distant stares. If only she had asked what was wrong. If only she had tried to stop him from leaving. If only. What now? What now, indeed? This increases campaign. We'll do it your way, Colonel. Sure. I've tanked Japan's approval for a long while now. Let's get it back up. Meet some of their representatives, same with the Chinese. See if they can help us out a little bit more. I don't want to round up the agitators. I instead will enforce a curfew. And then after that, I will crack down on organized crime. I wish I could have done the same thing with offering Japan an open port, a safe port, and then stoke national sentiment anyway. Ooh. The Consul General, he wants me to... Wait, decreases Yasuda's seat. They still have seats? Yeah, sure. You know what? Yeah. I think I'm technically still Yasuda. I'm not fighting as Sony just yet. Smart. I'm gaming the system. And crack down on organized crime. Bitte. That concludes our agenda, Chief Executive. Consul General Takashima snapped his binder shut. A productive meeting, all things considered. I'm sure you have other things to attend to, so I'll let you go early today. Oh no, I have time. Surely we can talk about other things than business. A polite smile slipped across Matsuzawa's Takuji's face. Tell me, Consul General, how are you finding Guangdong? I hope it is suitable for your interests. Oh yes, it's an interesting city, surely. Very active. There was a bit of a reluctance in that answer. Active? It is as active as, say, Tokyo or Nanjing? Well, there's certainly much to like about it. The food's quite good. The weather's relatively good, but I can't say I don't miss home. I suppose anyone would, and I do wish that I had the good fortune of some of my colleagues. A senior position in the foreign ministry or a good ambassadorship would have been quite nice, yes. Matsuzawa let the man reminisce further, but he'd heard what he needed to. Of course, the Japanese viewed Guangdong as a second-rate post, something that was beneath their talents. One day that changed, and that'd give this position the respect it deserved. Today, he'd have to grin and bear it. We gain one more favor with the Japanese consulate should they become frustrated with us. Nice. And now we will weather the storm. We've done all we can under Chief Executive Matsuzawa. Once we switch to Sony, we'll have more options. But for now, I'm happy where we stand. The empty throne. Where's Yasuda's last man gonna go after this is done, though? After his term's up. Oh, I'd love to do both of these. I'll start with purging corrupt officials. And then once I have more political power, I will go further. And now we get the choice. Hail Hitachi or contact Chuang Kong. I don't want Hitachi because apparently Hitachi is like the depressing path that you can go for. And I'm certainly not into that. Damn, our GDP growth rate is down to 3% again. Ugh, that sucks. Sony has transferred their share of the Yasuda assets to their trusted ally, Chuang Kong, allowing them to take part in the Legislative Council once all is said and done. Perhaps, Akio, our chance has finally come. Matsuzawa did us the greatest favor we could ever ask for. His Lee's voice was trembling with exultation too. No reason to keep it down when they were the only two of them left. I just want to say, Akio, now that everything's brightening up for once, you can most certainly count on me. on all our allies from across the nation to do all that I can to curtail Fujitsu and Matsushita and to see that their tentacle reaches no further than their existing associates. Nice, we have an ally. And we will recover another 0.5% of GDP growth. What have you done, Ibuka? Stormed in. How dare you open the door? He dashed his way to Matsuzawa's desk. For those two pieces of absolute slime to just waltz in and fuck up the entire legislative council with their brainless drivel? You heard what Ibuka said. I hope you know what you're doing, Matsuzawa, because by surrendering legislative clout to those soft-minded sympathizers, you have jeopardized the interests of our Japanese compatriots. I believe a course correction is in order, or else all of us will sink with this ship. So what do you want? What I'm saying is it's time that we did away with the whole 4 companies nonsense, don't you think? Another sigh escaped Matsushita's mouth. Nothing's stopping us from inviting another fellow competitor into the foray after all. Something of a counterbalance against Moritan Lee. Something easy to control and equally easy to dispose of. An outsider. It's the Hitachis, I guess. There we go. The balance of power shifts in the Legislative Council, and the 4 companies become 5. Komai Kenshiro becomes leader of the Fascism Party, the Manchurian executive. That evening, the assembled business elite of Guangdong welcomed Hitachi's president. Ladies and gentlemen, we come in peace. With a practiced cheer barely masked the cold stiffness of his champagne toast. He was met in kind with stilted applause and lukewarm handshake. The sole exception was Colonel Miyazaki of the Kenpei Tai, with a rare smile on his face, one that Komai returned wholeheartedly. An invasive species has entered the country. Let's have a look and see what the seats are like these days. So, in practice, we have like 31. What are these motherfuckers complaining about? Matsushita has 30 seats. Fujitsu also. Lam met the incandescent glare of his second oldest uncle. Write back. I would have loved to write back, uncle. It's just that none of the letters ever found their way to. Stop bullshitting me. Brother, please. Fuck you and your nonsense, Lam. Insolent fucking disgrace. Thinks he can just dine merrily with those jackals on his own family's corpses. If only you'd never sold your soul to that thing. That thing gifted him his new life, yet kept on erasing his old, a hybrid, a bastardization, like what he, Hayashi Kosen, had become. Lam screwed his eyes shut and kneeled to the ground too. He could feel it. Bit by bit, he was beginning to leave his roots, his loved ones, behind. Bit by bit, he was beginning to forget. Even though Guangdong's performance this year has fallen short of what we discussed last year, I think we would both claim extenuating circumstances are to blame. Be that as it may, Tokyo has communicated that they will expect Guangdong to do its part in the sphere's economic recovery. Okay, we can do that. That shouldn't be a problem. That's still less than what the first year expectations were, so I think we'll definitely get there. Hitachi enters the Legislative Council. Okay, I'm not sure I like that. Lam, people are arguing in the market and I can't speak any Japanese. As they jogged into the teeming market, Lam could see a disheveled shopkeeper shouting animatedly in pidgin Japanese. Break it up, Lam yelled in Japanese. The woman turned towards him while the shopkeeper threw up his hands and walked into the darkened shop. I'm sorry, Officer Hayashi. Yasukawa Yoshiko for the Canton Fuyin Koron. I was just doing my job, asking questions, but all of a sudden he started yelling. Did you ever think you were stopping him from doing his job? Answering your questions isn't going to make his customers happy or putting money in his pocket. Do you know any Cantonese? Yoshiko shook her head. I'm not surprised. You might want to start there. And what does that mean? Don't worry about it. Move along now. Okay, and we can investigate more corruption. Good. We'll get that down to a manageable level. Request some more political backing, please. From both. Their approval and opinion is not looking that great these days. But anything to bring down the corruption to a manageable level. A few days after Yoshiko's disastrous interview at the market, she was called to meet with her editor at the start of her workday. Sit down. How went the interview? I'm sorry. I haven't had much success. People don't want to talk to me, and I can't speak Cantonese. I understand. The locals aren't easy to approach, even dangerous, if you don't speak the language, and doubly so when given your Japanese. But I can't have you being helpless forever. Of course. Luckily for you, I have a friend in the Guangdong police, and he's agreed to loan us an officer to serve as your minder when needed. You should get used to dealing in favors, Yasukawa. It'll do. Excuse me. Hello again, Officer Hayashi. You two know each other? Oh, they're gonna end up together, huh? And now, let the games begin. Some final dealings must be sorted before the final victor can be determined. The contender who holds the most seats in the Legislative Council shall be given additional edge for the race of succession, which shall be added to the final tally. In the event of the tie, the next chief executive will be selected purely based on who holds plurality in the Legislative Council. With that out of the way, the future of Guangdong shall be decided right here, right now. Well, not exactly right here, right now, because this video has been going on for long enough. Over 2 hours of recording. I gotta cut this down as well. We'll continue, of course, though. I'm having a blast. But there's a lot of tiny little things. So this is also what scares me of playing as the US, because there's probably going to be even more mechanics than Guangdong. And this is a tiny state to manage. I'm guessing it'll be a lot more to manage as America. But that will be for the future. For now, this is pretty much all the time I've left for today. I do hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. Hopefully I'll see you next time. And hopefully you have a nice day. Bye-bye.